All right, guys. I want this week's project to be a review of everything we've done up until now. So hopefully you guys are able to catch up on missing work and get that turned in. My plan is by the end of the weekend, everything will be updated in Infinite Campus. So there shouldn't be any big questions there. Excuse me. So, what I want you guys to do for this week is I want you to build a model of a molecule, and I want you to you can just use stuff that's around the house, and I want you to communicate in your model some things that you've learned about them. So I want to make this fun and creative, and we'll make it a bit of a competition. So I will select the top 4 projects that I think do a really good job, and then those top 4 people will get to drop their lowest grade. You have to turn it in on time. If um, You have to turn it in on time by Monday, let's say Monday by midnight. That's when I want it turned in. And when you turn it in Monday by midnight, um, then you're eligible. If it's late, then you're not eligible for dropping the lowest grade. Okay? So the first thing that you're going to put together is your 3-dimensional model. Okay? If you want to do it on paper, that's fine. The key is that you can communicate in 3 dimensions the structure of the molecule and its properties. Excuse me. So I'm open. And then there's going to be some presentation piece, whether it's a Google Doc that conveys concepts from this document. So you could do it as a Google Doc, you could do it as a video. It's really up to you. All right. So the first thing is I want you to think about the learning targets when you select your model. And these are some ideas that you want to be able to include, right? So most of these learning targets convey what's going on with covalent bonds. So you also want to look at the POGL, right? Because that talks a little bit more about ionic if you want to do an ionic molecule. And you can include learning targets that you still have more questions about. So you could raise a question. Excuse me. If you're talking about polarity of covalent bonds, if that one confuses you, you could ask a question in your presentation about that, not just what it is or where you're confused on it. So those are things to think about. Here's what you need to include, and that's the vocabulary stuff. You're choosing a molecule that has either ionic or covalent bond. You're going to want to be able to include the chemical formula, right? And then you need to be able to choose choose some properties and features. So cation, anion. Some of these apply to some of these are going to apply to covalent. Some of these are going to apply to um, ionic, right? Structure, type of bond, is it a double, single, triple? The ratios in the chemical formula. If it's an ionic bond, talk about what the ionic bond is. Talk about what's happening with valence electrons. Where are the electrons, right? These are all things you want to be able to include in your presentation piece. Okay, so I kind of put in parentheses some ideas of what I'd be looking for from those. So this is just the overview video. There's, like I said, there's the other video that shows you some that I made. Let me just show you this picture I did to give you a sense of what I'm looking for. So these are 4 gold bells and some glass beads, all right? So this would represent several molecules together, okay? And the glass bead would be one atom, the bell would be another atom, okay? And then this shows how the molecules would arrange in space. So in this case, this would be an example of ionic molecules coming together to form a structure. And you would want to be able to talk about size, right? Which ones are going to be smaller? So if this is, we took our favorite one, we took sodium chloride, right? Na and Cl. Na is a metal and Cl is a nonmetal. So you would want to make sure which is going to be sodium, right? Which is going to be chlorine, right? Sodium would be bigger, so that would mean the bells would have to be chlorine, right? You would then talk about the electronegativity. You would talk about, you could talk about that. You can pull up that periodic table that has the difference in electronegativities and talk about how when you look at the electronegativity of sodium and chlorine, it tells you that's going to be an ionic bond. Okay. Those are some ideas about what you could do. So obviously, if you guys choose NaCl, probably not going to win the contest because we talk about that model, that example quite a bit. So I'd definitely try and pick a different molecule. So watch the other video that shows some models that I made. Have fun with this. Be creative. Show up in my office hours with questions. Take the time to think about what you're going to do before you get too far ahead of yourself, right? Because if you wait till the last minute on Monday, you may miss my office hours. Also, I want to stress office hours. Email me if you need to meet outside of my office hours so I know. If you guys leave comments in my Google Classroom, I don't get a notification. So there's a good chance I might miss it because I have a lot of other responsibilities between crew and updating grades in Infinite Campus and all those things, as well as the planning. So I don't want to miss you guys, but I can't constantly be refreshing that screen. So make sure you email me, rugga@mapleton.us, if you need to meet outside of office hours, even if it's on a Friday, even if it's on the weekend. Just shoot me a heads up. Okay? All right. Watch the other video for some more ideas about what you can do.